Insurrection? What is insurrection? Is this an insurrection? How did you like this insurrection? Or am I thinking insertion? They have been doing it for years, but was it always fun? All of this and more in this review of some old-ass game. Hey there folks, Jack here. Guns have been in fashion for a while now, but recently interest seems to have peaked. In celebration, today I will look at a very special game. But first, let me ask you, have you ever wanted to take over a country just to make a quick buck? How do you feel about pixelation? Do you enjoy strong female characters to beat some up, murder and decapitate others?
Got it!
Fancy observing some femdom, use realistic weapons to kill men and women in total of 3 different colors of shirts, and then help a gay guy achieve his dream of owning a leather shop, so he can sell his custom designed leather clothing. If you feel like this is what's missing in your life, then I have just the game for you. Let me present to you Jagged Alliance 2, developed and released in 1999 by the same company that made some other good games, but unfortunately happened to be Canadian. Officially, Jagged Alliance is a tactical RPG, a TRPG or some shite like that. In reality, it's an advanced deposition simulator with turn-based combat, realistic gear and weapons. You employ a group of mercenaries to take control over a small island country and assassinate the dictator, so they can have another chance at democracy. In essence, you play as the CIA. To say this game has a story is like saying the US has a president. There's something there, but calling it a story is somewhat of an exaggeration. A man by the name of Enrico Scivodori hires you to kill his psychopathic murderous ex-wife Didriana. 10 years ago, he got her as a trophy wife to help him win the election, as any respectful leader would do. In return, she assassinated his father, framed him for it, and took over the country, forcing him to flee in exile so he can travel around Europe and experience beer. You start the game and see an animation sequence where Didriana attacks civilians with jets and missiles, as well as with tanks and mountain machine guns. No better way to deal with civilians, I might say. Jets and missiles are the most appropriate way to deal with civilians and poorly equipped rebels, as we all know, because we've seen it. That's just how it's done. The next scene is your meeting with Enrico in Prague. He explains his situation and hands you the paper. He gives you the sobbing story about Didriana killing, torturing and using his people, and even babies with birth defects. I mean, the old and the sick are expected to get cleared, but the babies with birth defects? That's just common sense. Then you open your laptop and are presented with this classic so-far user interface. While on it, you do shopping for gear and weapons, hire mercs, get work mail, check your journal, examine merc profiles of current and previous personnel, along with the backstory research for the mission. You get a help prompt and I suggest you read it. H brings it up whenever you need it, and you will need it. After you're somewhat acquainted with the concept of Jagged Alliance, you can finally try to play the game. The first thing would be to make your character, although the game is absolutely playable without a main character, as I found out the first time I played it 23 years ago.
That one's kaput!
Let me tell you a story. As a child, I didn't know English. I didn't read the emails and I had no idea how to make my character. I didn't know you could have a character. Not until 100 hours into it, my friend who introduced me to the game asked me, "Where is your main character?" "What main character?" I said. Then he explained that my life has been a lie and my parents are divorced. Nowadays, you could watch a YouTube video, read the manual even. I have no idea how I beat the game back then. What is the Institute for Mercenary Profiling? I don't know, but you pay 3k and get a premium quality merc for free. So read the email, find the code, enter it in the IMP field, and make that motherfucker. Answer the question, speak the face and the voice.
Time to take out the trash!
If you answer truthfully as I did, you will be assessed as mentally unstable. Being crazy is fun the first time, on easy. What happens is your character goes psycho, laughs maniacally, shoots in burst mode instead of single, and wastes a bunch of ammo. On higher difficulty, this can be a liability. Giggles and cuckles ain't cool anymore. We need the whole edge we can get, because this game is going pretty hard, even on novice. On expert, it can break your spirit. Jokes and laughs will be the last thing on your mind. Violence, uncontrolled violence, more likely. I'm just joking. No, not about the extreme and unsettling feeling of anger. That's not a joke, that's very much real. About the psycho trait part, it's actually pretty good. You get a bonus to hit with any attack, can be very effective when combined with auto weapons, which reduces to hit penalties to burst and auto fire by half. Also, I can't tell you how many times I didn't have the balls to spend the action points, but my main man, Baby Arm, would go and then the enemy goes down. So have your fun, practice your prime cutting skills on the neighborhood pets. Just keep in mind, those questions are what determines your specialties, and some of them can be quite handy. There's quite a bit of detail to Jagged Alliance, and unlike some other games, here all the stats matter. Each one does something that is either essential or useful. Hence your decisions on how to spread the points have significant impact. Wisdom is the most important attribute. You see, in Jagged Alliance, as long as you don't have 0 points in it, any skill can be improved.
That went well.
That's where wisdom comes in. It determines how fast you level everything. Max wisdom always. Then marksmanship if you want to hit stuff. Dexterity for a similar purpose, plus quite a lot more. Health is your health. You want some extra if you plan surviving more than 2 shots, plus a bit more. Agility is important. Leadership is quite useful. Medical is not a must, because you can hire a merc for a medic, but I would suggest to be at least 35. If you have 0, you can't even bandage your bleeding wounds, and if you don't bandage them,
Feels like my insides are on fire.
you just die. Mechanical is not necessary. Just keep in mind, if you have 0 and your weapon jams, you can't unjam it. You have to give it to a merc that has some mechanical, so he can fix it. Explosives is what it sounds like. Useful, but it's not a must. Yes, we are still in character creation. You should experiment the first time, and then try something different on your next run. People that play Jagged Alliance more than once don't generally play it twice. It's much like heroin. Once may be okay, but after you do it a couple of times, the chances of really getting into it get quite a lot higher. You made the main boy, now time to get a team. Playing this game solo? I don't recommend it. Can it be done? I have no idea, but my guess is most probably absolutely fucking no. But don't take my word for it. Feel free to try and tell me in the shitpost section. The Association of International Mercenaries offers 40 guns for hire. Pick at least 3 of them. You need a medic, with the rest you can improvise. A marksman, someone with explosives or mechanical. Lockpicking requires mechanical. A lot of locked stuff to unlock, but nothing critical. The good shit is either unlocked or there is a key for it. Worst case, you can always blow up the door or the wall. But repair is essential. Thus mechanical is essential. Not for everyone, but at least one should have some of it. A strength guy to carry heavy shit, as well as throw shit further. Aside from AIM, later on you will get an alternative with more budget options for hire. Most of the guys and gals from the more economic recruitment company are pretty bad, yet some can be useful for certain tasks. In addition, the more of them you employ, the better hirelings become available down the line. I love these guys. Your initial team should be low level guys, because they are cheap. Just make sure they have good wisdom. The rest can be leveled. By the end of it, some of them will be the best mercs in the game. One thing you can spend some money on early is a guy with a rifle. Some range, decent ammo and good marksmanship can be what saves you sanity in the beginning.
Neutralized.
We now have the team and are ready to move into the action. It's been only like 50 hours of intro watching, manual reading, character making and merc picking.
Suck my exhaust.
We shut down the laptop and look at that shit. What is this, you ask? It's the tactical map screen. If you read the fucking manual, you would know, you lazy piece of shit. Here we heal mercs after battle, sleep, train other mercs, train yourself, repair equipment, train militia, set travel method and travel destinations. To begin the operation, we click this button, which more than 20 years after playing the game for the first time, I just couldn't find for my life for a few hours, until I gave up, accepted the humiliation and watched a playthrough, just to see how to start the fucking game, even though it was prompted to me, but I just didn't read it. To spare you that moment, click here, because that right here controls time. We're down on the ground and it's time to get that insurgency going. This is Omerta. We have a few low level guys from the Queen's forces. Some advice: save the game. Don't forget to save the game. You don't want to make the rookie mistake of just running out in the open, losing your main character right away, only to realize you didn't save. And now you better remember the answers to those questions. Combat is turn-based.
Oh, Jesus, now that blows my mind.
Characters move in real time until they see enemies or get seen by enemies. Every action takes action points. How many action points you have depends on how much stamina you have. Are you injured, as well as stats like health and agility. Everything you do, crouch, prone, look in a direction, climb, throw a grenade or move costs action points. Different guns cost different amount of action points to shoot. You aim and spend more action points to make a precise shot. The chance to hit someone is calculated in quite a simple way. The game just takes into account if your merc is injured, how tired he or she is, how much marksmanship he or she has, the traits and special skills he or she has, what's the distance to the target, does the merc taking the shot see the target, is the target within the range of the gun, what kind of cover the target has taken, in what stance is the target. Quite simplistic, isn't it? Who acts first? Whoever sees the other first. An interrupt is when you catch the enemy mid-turn and you can execute whatever action points you have before they have a chance to do anything. Interruption seems to be mostly based on the level of the character. The more experienced mercs will get the most interruptions. Interrupts are great when it's not you the one being interrupted. A fun strategy is when you fill a room with tear or mustard gas, sit close to the exits and wait for the enemy to either die inside or to the higher level merc waiting to interrupt them as they're coming out. In some situations the environment can be used as a weapon. These barrels, for example, very effective at DD-Army barbecues. When attacking an enemy position, it's wise to use the night, as enemies seem to be less activated during 1 and 400 hours. Using brake lights to uncover areas is highly effective. Generally, getting some night vision and exploiting the shit out of the fact that enemies can't see you if you are at the proper range is the way to go. Your decisions during combat will dictate the outcome of battles. If you are aggressive, a chat even, you run out in the open and get killed. The right way would be to carefully position your team behind cover and wait for the enemy to come to you. In hostile sectors, you should proceed slowly, move mercs from cover to cover and use stealth so that enemies don't hear you, until you get to a position where you can wait for them to come at you. What I'm saying is, you should approach combat as putting yourself in a self-defense situation. Conversely, you can use noise to draw out enemies or to make them turn and look in a desired direction. Often I will shoot at enemies from distance, knowing full well I won't hit them. At the same time, I'll send a team to flank them, get behind their back and spray them down. To be frank, I'm not a big fan of turn-based combat, but in this game it works great. In fact, it's so good that Jagged Alliance 2 was recommended to be mandatory training material for US police departments, so they can be competent enough to recapture schools and grocery shops taken over by enemy teenagers.
I'm from Chicago, bro.
Unfortunately, that's a lie. So police are now only qualified enough to put yellow tape at locations of shootings. After you take care of the few soldiers in Umerta, you talk to Fatima, give her the letter and she takes you to the rebels hideout, where you meet Miguel Cordona, the leader of the rebels. Here you can recruit Ira right away and Dimitri later, after we complete the task given to us by Miguel, which is to talk to Spirit's Enjoyer, Father Walker in Drasen. And by spirits I mean the ones that the bartenders are serving.
I seem to have run out of sacramental wine. You wouldn't happen to have any, would you? I mean, any type of alcoholic beverage will do.
The quintuplet bartenders of Faruko might be my favorite characters in the game.
We no meet yet. But meet one, you meet them all, no? Women, they confuse us all the time. And me, I confuse the women. I have passed nights with each of their wives. Except for Manny's.
Except Manny. Poor Manny is not yet a bartender.
Bartending hard, no? You have the liquor, the glasses, the money, much to do.
But one day he might get there. His wife, though,
My carpet is more beautiful than his wife.
will probably remain ugly.
It has been good for their marriage.
The characters and voice acting are one of the best I have ever experienced.
So you're the ones blowing everything all to hell. Well, no one's blowing me all to hell. I'm Alex Perkopoulos. Call me Perko.
Every single one of the 62 mercs is fully voice acted, and a bunch of them have special relationships with some of the others, or develop such over time if they work in the same team. It can be positive or negative. Some mercs will refuse to work or disagree to contract continuation if someone they dislike is in the party. Let me introduce you to some of the folk. Gus is a veteran. His name is
Tarballs. Gus Tarball.
Reaper is an assassin who loves spitting in his victims' eyes as they die. Lovely fella. Nails is an ex-renegade biker, so you better
Don't mess with the vest, Scooter.
Blood likes throwing knives, preferably at necks, and has
Killed women who went down a lot harder than he did.
Buns is a Danish Olympic sharpshooter that used to be a geriatric nurse, a kindergarten teacher, and a professional dirt bike racer. She loves to laugh. Things she finds funny are exploding heads and decomposing bodies. Fox was recently featured in the prestigious monthly magazine Guns and Babes and is rumored to be equally skilled with both hands. Igor fought in Chechnya, and Miguel, who seems to prefer
Being leader more than soldier.
That is why I make sure to pick him up every time and kill him myself. Your choices and actions can have real consequences. For example, if you steal the meds from the warehouse of the hospital in Cambria, you will not be able to recruit Dr. Vince. Furthermore, the hospital's healing service won't be available to you. I mean, you just stole the medical supplies. What do you expect them to heal you with? Jokus fuel?
I couldn't find a bandage if your life depended on it.
A bunch of the NPCs will spawn in random locations, while the main ones in the same place. The meeting with the rebels is the start of the questline on the island, although questing in this game is somewhat optional. If you decide, if you happen to have maybe a not very good day, for example, someone said something you didn't like in your local grocery store, instead of shooting everyone there, you can come here, to the rebels hideout, get to the children's area, and... You might think this is a bit much, and it could be, but there's one thing I learned over the years: murder is so much fun.
Because it's so much fun, Chan! Get it!
Just as long it's not real. Does this affect the questline? A little bit. You can't do the rebels tasks, as the rebels are dead, but the main objective, killing Queen Dedriana, that's still on the table. Sometimes I come here just to sit and do nothing, no one in sight but the hot bodies of my victims and my thoughts about the world. I love gaming. The only place that lets me do whatever I like and doesn't scream and attack me with stupid things like laws or morals. Also, the devs put a special death animation for kids. Why would they do that? The bad thing though is morale is down, all your town loyalty gone, and money ain't coming in no more. So... back to Omerta. Now, the grander strategy. What's that, you ask? It's the order in which you liberate the towns and villages. There's no one way to do it, but here's how it works. Enemy difficulty scales. The more of the map you capture, the harder they get. But in general, the top part of the map will be lower difficulty, and the lower part, the opposite. Here's my strat. Use it or don't. Improvise. See what happens. Experience freedom and embrace the consequences, or in the case of Ja, dying. A lot of dying. San Mona doesn't have hostiles, just the local mafia.
It's almost like the Las Vegas of Arulco.
You can visit whenever you like, and that's a thing I really like about this game. You get a hint what you have to do, but it's up to you if you want to pick it up. So now that we have that cleared, you're free to go and depose some Dedrusim. Each town will have NPCs that give you tasks, provide services like trading and repair, or join your team in your mission to dispatch the queen. Skipping some of the locations is obviously okay. Just keep in mind, all of them have something you want, like an airport to fly in supplies, weapons, gear, experience. Some sites are even more optional to clear. You do those if you intend to use Skyrider, the local helipilot. You can get him from the nearby swamp, then clear the close by some site, and now you can fly here. To unlock more, you need to clear more some sites. Flying in enemy coverage costs 10x per square, and it just might be your last flight. Every town, village or some site you clear from Dedriana's control has the potential to be recaptured by her forces. There is a bunch of them all over the map. Some will patrol certain sectors and engage only if intercepted. Others will attack and attempt to recapture lost locations. You can defend manually with your team, but the more logical solution is to train militia. That's where Ira comes handy. She joins for free, has teaching specialty and high wisdom. So when she trains militia, levels leadership and trains them even faster. After militia is trained to their maximum potential, the chances of successful enemy assault is almost non-existent. Unless you're playing on expert, then it's quite possible. It's actually inevitable. Higher difficulty surprisingly means a harder game, but in the case of Ja, even more surprisingly, it also means a more enjoyable experience. Why? Because it means more enemies. More enemies means more guns. More guns with which you kill even more enemies even harder.
Bingo!
Now, a very important warning about difficulty. The moment you beat the game in Expert Ironman, your phone rings and a dusty voice tells you your training has been completed and deployment is on Monday, so better start packing. I'm not even kidding, I made that mistake and now operate under a different name in a country I can barely pronounce. To avoid all that hustle, if it's your first time, don't touch the difficulty. Tons of guns if you want to have fun. Sci-fi is a misunderstanding. It's these grim bugs that appear as soon as you get mid-game. Mining stops and they'll even come out and attack your militia. They're not hard to deal with, but can be annoying. Drop that green goo that makes any armor better, provided you remembered to take some jars. Additionally, you get some extra leveling if you give them the Starship Trooper treatment. Also, you might hate eggs after you listen to the sound of them being fried for 10 hours. I don't like the bugs, so it's great you can toggle them. There is a particular rhythm to Jagged Alliance, and the sequence goes like this. You go, you conquer, take control and start training militia. Sit around for a while, heal up, rest up and leave, like your father. Health is important. Fighting with heavy wounds is not suggested. It will not be pleasant. Same goes for low stamina. You see, wounds as well as exhaustion dramatically affects accuracy as well as action points, and now hitting someone is not very likely, but death is guaranteed. Another essential is to repair your equipment. Damaged equipment is not good equipment. Your weapon jamming is not a pleasant experience. Accuracy on a damaged weapon is not very reliable. Armor is not as useful when damaged. Repair your shit. Using vehicles for travel is crucial, but first you need to find them. For example, Camus and his ice cream truck are in a randomized location. However, to use his truck after you find him, you have to recruit him, and he is good only for dying. Total unsalvageable trash. When he inevitably does transcend, you get to keep the truck. Another one is the Hummer, and I already mentioned Skyrider and his heli. The reason vehicles are useful might shock you. Although some people can run for days and not get tired, most will get some amount of fatigue. Sitting in a car while it moves can negate that, which means you can enter battle right away, without sleep and with a full stamina bar. Economy is essential. Everything costs money. Merc salaries, weapons, armor. You need money, and there's a few ways to get them. The most reliable one is through precious metal mining. Almost every town you capture has a mining facility. When you capture a town, miners will agree to work for you upon speaking to the head miner. And just like selling drugs in real life, your share of the profit will rely on your loyalty percentage for the specific town. Loyalty is acquired through town liberation, training militia and doing certain tasks for the locals, or in other words, by asserting your dominance. Another way to make fat stacks is stealing from the Sun Mona Kingpin. It's actually pretty easy and can be done quite early in the game. You can get the money first thing and get yourself some next level hires very early in the game. Next option is to MMA fight for the money. Has to be done before you steal from the Kingpin, because he is the one paying for the fights, and once you steal from him, he ain't that eager to see you no more. Headhunting is another decent method of making dough. Carmen will spawn in a random location. He will give you a list out of which he pays 20k per head, and I mean, he literally wants the heads and gives you the money once you deliver them. He even offers a machete for your convenience. The last one is selling everything you don't need to the various traders around the Uruku. Some will give you better prices than others, and some will buy just certain things. Nevertheless, the local traders and repairmen are quite useful, and working with them makes the game that much more enjoyable. There is a crafting system that is not mentioned anywhere. Back in the day, you had to figure it out yourself, or someone could tell you. In this case, I'll be that someone. Here is an example how it works. You take this rod and this spring, put them together, and now this device reduces the action points cost of your gun. I suggest checking the wiki if you want to soften the hardcore, as this game has a little too much of it. Jagged Alliance can be a bit overwhelming, and it gets better is a lie you should believe for the sake of your own mental stability. I would advise patience and persistence. The real fun starts when you have a foothold on Uruku. Your team is somewhat leveled, has some decent gear, and hits shots consistently. Safe scumming to avoid losing mercs is not what's fun about Jagged Alliance. Using a sniper rifle, a DMR, or mortar shells after throwing light sticks to expose enemies and then rain fire on them, all of these are very satisfying and enjoyable. Using gear is fun because it works. GLs, LOLs, stun grenades, mustard gas, all just delightful to apply to the Drena soldiers. I love smashing shit. At some some point of an expert playthrough, I find myself commanding a group of 18 people, and everyone has something to do. It is truly magical. But getting to that point can be a tedious transition that comes after a period of struggle and frustration, and it's all worth it. It's a challenge, but why bother if it wasn't? Every step of the progress feels earned, a concept which drop babies might never understand. Setting up shop comfortably and defending the majority of the map while stacking paper at the same time is intensely gratifying. You feel accomplished, you're a modern day conqueror, and all of a sudden you start to understand why they did it. It's in your blood. Once you get a taste, you start to like it too much and always want more of what the others have, and they will give it to you, because if they don't, you will just take it. Sorry, I got a little carried away there. Back to the game. The final assault on Meduna is the pinnacle of the Jagged Alliance experience, and I know some people that enjoy the game don't like it. Me personally, I think it's the best part. Playing on your respectful difficulty feels like a challenge, a test of character, as I like to call it. You're geared, leveled and rich, but so is the enemy. The queen has a lot of troops, tanks, and the deeper you go into the city, the better gear her soldiers have. Now, your tactical decisions are more important than ever. Every small mistake can result in a total wipe of your team. I love tanks so fucking much. When I get to this point of the game, I like to take my time. One sector a day, a couple of hours of play, and with time I chip away towards victory. Knowledge is key. That is why I think this game gets more enjoyable on each subsequent playthrough. The first time, it may take a couple of 100 hours to beat, reloading an unimaginable amount of times, so you don't lose too many mercs, because if too many of them die under your command, they stop accepting to work for you. There will be a point where no one wants to fight for you. On the other side, with the appropriate skills, it can be completed in less than 40 hours, without a single reload. Knowledge. That is the type of game I enjoy. The final fight is a delicate dance in the middle of "this is freaking hard, I love it," and that's some fucking bullshit right there. I understand you, whichever of the two you feel. The longest running interaction in the game is the dysfunctional relationship between Dedriana and her assistant Elliot. He informs her of every advance you make, and she repeatedly beats him as he gets progressively more bruised and disfigured. Regardless, he stays loyal to his beloved queen, even after being shot in the face by her. The writing and voice acting are truly phenomenal.
Artist.
The amount of fully voiced personalities is absolutely insane, and I have real feelings for a good bunch of them. At the end, I always feel emotional, which is a treat I rarely get from digital entertainment these days. Jagged Alliance isn't easy to get into, especially the modded versions, so I would strongly recommend starting with low expectations of your progress, and most definitely with the unmodded vanilla version, or with the Stracciatella mod, which is just a more colorful and even more pixelated version of the original game, but with some extras. For the original game from GOG, you might want to get a fix, unless you're okay to never alt-tab. If you do, better have a save, because the game is not responding. I'll leave a link to my fix below. Worst case, you can get the Steam version, but it requires you to get the Wildfire mod first, then buy the original game as a DLC. Wildfire is a German mod, and it's not very good. On top of that, the version of the original game they sell is an older one, where some features, like cheats, don't work. And if there is a game that is cheat appropriate, it's this one. I wouldn't play it as much as I do if it wasn't for cheats. For example, look at that shit. I have no patience for that slow ass out of combat running. The gold pack should be the right version, but fuck the gold pack. Now somewhere around here, originally I had planned a section about mods, more precisely the different versions of 1.13 and all the additional content mods. Bigger teams, bigger maps, new maps, more items, a lot more items. But then I went through some of them and decided it's just not right. Those are so spectacular and impressive in terms of everything that it wouldn't be fair to be just a section. Also, it will be too overwhelming for the newbies, and we don't want to scare them. do we? So it will be a separate video, sometime in the future, when I'm done with it. In summary, Jade Alliance 2 is a magnificent piece of gaming history, which is still enjoyable to this day. Maybe one of the greatest games ever made. Modern gaming development should be taking notes, very careful notes, if they were smart, which, let's be honest, they are not. The final score is as high as it gets. Buy it, try it, suffer a little, it's good for you. Thank me later. That is all from me on this one. Thank you for watching. You're all truly awesome. I had to clean my keyboard. It took me some time, but I did it. So hopefully videos should be coming more often in the future. Now you go and insurrect something.
This is a life, Scooter. Just kick back, grab a brew, and take it all in. We kicked some nasty ass, because you put a nasty group of guys together.
You know, with this team, we could have sandblasted the hell out of Saddam. You and inspectors be looking for his body instead of weapons.
Bet every goddamn one of you is an American. You can't stay out of anything, can you? You sons of bitches.
Isn't there a famous quote about the man who cried because he had no hat until he met a man who had no head? Something like that. I don't know, just seemed appropriate. What's that?
My sister, Maria, was taken from our home in Meduna just over a year ago. She is being forced to work as a prostitute. I moved to Samona and opened this leather shop so I could be close to the shady lady brothel where she is being forced to work. She once was a very innocent and naive girl. I fear that is no longer the case.
I hope you're not here to get an eagle on your shoulder. Simply everybody wants the eagle. Boring, boring, boring. They're so passé. The moment I saw you, I saw wild peacock. A vibrant, multicolored peacock spreading its feathers of manhood across your right buttock. Dancing euphoric, yet sitting determined, declaring its presence.